A glorious and beautiful welcome back to the Green Beans Go channel. It's your host, me. Today, we are going to learn a little bit. I love these type of videos. I love peeling back the layers of what these sports books are doing behind the scenes that I think 75 to 90% of bettors never even consider. And so today, I hope you will walk away from this video with something learned. Now, I am not here to be the troll under the bridge, the killer of fun, and I realize that home run same-game parlays are incredibly popular bets for recreational bettors. You see them all over Twitter. They're all the rage. But this video is going to walk you through what you need to know. Now, notice the subtitle of this is not home run same-game parlays, never bet them, they suck, or home run same-game parlays, why the books are bending you over the coals, raking you while they're tearing you up, okay? It's not that. I am here to inform and to educate you about same-game parlays, not necessarily to steer you away. You have to make your own decision. So this was the last straw. I saw this morning posted on Twitter, and I said, okay, it's time. It's time. Let's make the video. So we're going to talk about what the issue is, how you are charged for correlation, and we'll talk about are home runs actually correlated. So what you need to know about these same-game parlays is you are not getting fair odds. The books are saying if one guy hits a home run, another guy is more likely to hit a home run. Now, is that true? It could be. There are times where at certain parks, if you're in, Cincinnati, if you're in New York and the wind is blowing certain ways and you have horrible pitchers on the mound and it's 80 degrees and low pressure, like there are situations where maybe that's the case. But is it the case to the degree that they are charging you for correlation? That's what we're going to explore today. So let's take a look at a couple of examples. There's a lot here. I'll break it down. For the first example, we're going to look at players on the same team. So in this example, we have Kyle Schwarber and Max Kepler, 400 and 800 respectively. I plug those into a fair value parlay calculator, meaning without correlation, if these two individuals were in different games and you are betting on their home runs, you would get a 44-1 parlay. This would be fair. But what FanDuel is doing is it's charging you for correlation. What FanDuel is basically doing behind the scenes is, you think two Philadelphia bats are going to get a home run. Is the park more favorable for home runs today? Is the pitcher that the Phillies are facing gettable? So what FanDuel is saying is, we recognize you're trying to pull one over on us by stacking guys from the same team. Now, is that getting one over on them? I don't know. Again, I think there are instances where these two guys are more likely to hit a home run in the same game than others. But regardless, they're giving you a 37-1 price. Now, to calculate the hold or the VIG or the tax that the book is charging for correlation, you can use this formula. So if you want to test this on your own, you would do the payout offered, which is this, divided by the fair value, which is this. Again, go to parlay calculator online and plug it in and it will give you the fair value. 1 minus that times 100. So you get 15%. So the book, FanDuel specifically here, is charging you a 15% tax. They are paying you 15% less than they should be because of this correlation, which again, I don't know. Now, if you think about correlation where it makes sense, think about the NFL. Quarterback passing yards over, wide receiver 1 receiving yards over. If Tom Brady throws for 300 yards, it's more than likely that Julian Edelman gets 80 or whatever his line is, right? That is direct correlation. That makes a lot of sense. But for Kyle Schwarber and Max Kepler to both hit a home run, I don't think it's as correlated as we see in some other sports. So here's what I've done. Again, a lot going on here. Take a breath, guys. You never seen a screen with some things on it? I'm going to walk you through it. We're talking about same team here. And what I've done, this is what we just talked about, Kyle Schwarber and Max Kepler. I have duplicated this across books because this is not a one-size-fits-all situation. Not only do books offer different odds on the solos, they offer different prices on the same game parlay based on how their algorithms work for correlation. So what's absolutely crazy, and maybe I could have done a better job showing you this, is there are books, maybe ESPN, where Kyle Schwarber and Max Kepler's odds are better, higher than DraftKings, but their correlation factor is worse. So you may actually get a worse build with better odds. FanDuel, like we said, is charging you 15% VIG. DraftKings 23 to 1, fair value of 31 to 1 using their odds. You get a 26% hold on DraftKings. DraftKings is taxing you 30%. They're taking 30% off the fair value because the two guys are on the same team in the same park versus the same pitcher. I don't know about that. ESPN, even more, 30%. Fair value using ESPN's odds was 32 to 1. They're paying you 22 to 1. 30% vig on all. Do you see why? Do you see why the same game parlay for home runs is potentially ripping you off? And then Caesars, I'm actually kind of impressed and shocked. Caesars fair value is 20 or 25 to 1 roughly. They're giving you 20 to 1 with about a 20% hold on the correlation for the same game parlay there. Okay, so this is just same team. Now, I would argue that a same team is more correlated than an opposite team because you get the benefit of the park, that stays consistent. You get the benefit of the pitcher, potentially. If the pitcher's bad, the opposing pitcher's bad, that stays consistent for both batters. What if we mix it up? What if we go different team? So if we take Kyle Schwarber again and Matt Chapman, who plays for the Giants, what do we get? Well, we get a 21 to 1 parlay. Fair value using both of these individual data points was 25 to 1. Still 15%. So FanDuel keeps it pretty consistent, which doesn't make sense conceptually. They should be charging, well, they shouldn't be charging more vig, but these two bets are more correlated over the long term, over a big sample than these two. Like the park is the same in no matter what, but if the pitcher is bad for the Phillies, these two guys are more likely to hit a home run than if the pitcher is bad for the Giants, then Chapman doesn't face his own pitcher, right? You see what I'm saying? Like pitcher is not consistent here. So, you know, in theory, FanDuel, this should either be more or this should be less, but they have just based it strictly on the game, not on the team. DraftKings, however, takes a different approach. Fair value for DraftKings is almost 20 to 1. They're giving you 18 to 1. So when you pick the guys from the same team, they're charging you almost 30% vig. When you pick the guys from opposite teams, it's down to 8. So FanDuel keeps it the same, 15 and 15. DraftKings punishes you when they're on the same team, which kind of makes sense. But on the opposite team, they're basically saying, we don't care about park conditions here. 8% vig. 8% vig is not bad on a two-leg same-game parlay, just in general. So good for DraftKings here. What they are stealing from you here, you know, good for them, so to speak, in this spot. Now you can see this still pays more because the odds were significantly more. Like you know, Matt Chapman was 420 on FanDuel and like 370 here. So I would still, even though the vig is more over here, you're gonna want to play it on FanDuel because they're paying you more money. But just as an example, okay, ESPN. 22 to 1 is fair. You're getting 17 to 1 for a 24% vig. Now it's a little bit less, again, kind of like DraftKings. DraftKings is significantly less, almost a third less. ESPN is not quite a third less, just 7% less. And then Caesars, dare I say, good for you. Caesars, they're giving you basically fair value. They're giving you fair value on this. They are saying there is no correlation at all in Matt Chapman and Kyle Schwarber both hitting a home run in the same game, which, you know, is there an edge to be had there? I'm not going to sit here and say there is, but what I'm going to say is that's good, provided their home run odds are the best, which they're not. Take this bet on FanDuel because you're getting 21 to 1 and you're getting 18 to 1. So it's still better on FanDuel because FanDuel's single, even with their vig, they're you know, if FanDuel was offering the lines that they offered and they were using Caesar's algorithm, this would be baller. I mean, we would be playing this all day long because you would get no hold plus better odds. You would get probably 25 to 1. Okay, if you use the vig calculations, essentially nothing. You'd probably get 24 to 1. So as you can see, significantly less of a hold or a tax when the players are on a different team. Now let's do one final test where we do both teams, where we take two guys from one team where there's correlation that we know, and then one guy from the other team using all the same players, Chapman, Schwarber, and Kepler. We're doing a 3-leg parlay. Should pay 200 to 1. and you're getting 179 to 1. Is that correct? I hate when there's not a decimal point and there's too many numbers. But anyway, 11 vig there. For DraftKings up, you went back into our bad graces here. You're back to 20% vig. 120 versus 150. And then ESPN. Guys, I would not touch ESPN unless you're playing straights. You have a promo. This is absurd. 43% hold. They're paying you almost half of what the fair value is. 93 to 1 on something that should pay 165 to 1. So what happened here, I believe, is last year ESPN was getting busted on their same game parlays for MLB. There was an error in their calculations, and I knew about it, and I didn't capitalize on it. And I will tell you right now, because it's dead, you could parlay hits, runs, RBIs, home runs, and if a guy hits a home run, he's going to get a run, he's going to get a hit, he's going to get an RBI, but it would give you a boost on his home run. So if his home run was like 5 to 1 and you added hits and you added run and you added RBI, it would go to like 575 or 600. Well, all of those are going to cover if he hits the home run anyway, so it shouldn't increase, but it was increasing. So they fixed all that, and I think they probably just altered their algorithm and said, screw everything. Like we're just going to chalk everything and just ruin people's day. 43% vig is a day ruiner. And then over on Caesars, you get almost 100 to 1, should be 113 to 1. Not bad, 11% vig. So, on a 3-leg same game parlay, 11% vig isn't horrible. I wouldn't recommend doing this very often unless you have a perceived edge. But, this gives me a little faith in some of these books, specifically FanDuel, potentially. I mean, even just look at the odds, though. 179 or 180 to 100 to 1. So you're getting not quite double, but you're almost getting double. You're getting 80% increase on FanDuel for the exact same parlay. This is why the easiest thing you can do to make more money long-term is to line shop, is to get multiple books and to make sure you're getting the best price. And that's so oversaid. We've beat the dead horse. You guys know that, but this is just sitting here right in front of you. Double the price. You have to hit 2 of these versus 1 of these to make the same amount of money roughly, and it's the same bet. So look around. Okay, so some final thoughts on this. Line shop, like I said, both on solos and same game parlay. So you may see lines that are better solo on DraftKings, but by the time you parlay them, they're worse than FanDuel's correlated algorithm, even though FanDuel's lines are worse. So if you are going to bet same game parlays, not only is it important to look at the solo individual lines of each player, but to actually plug them in and see what they're calculating. The next thing is, does your edge, in other words, in this situation, does your pitching matchup and park factors, wind, weather, wall height, like all the things you're using, does it overcome their hold? Like, is your edge greater than their juice? And I can't tell you that. You're going to have to figure that out. So my final advice for most individuals is to avoid the home run same game parlays without promotions or boosts. Like if you have a boost, like you have a 50% boost, and you think the most home runs are going to be hit in this Phillies-Giants game, and it's a same game parlay boost, like, yeah, you can get away with parlaying some guys to hit a home run and throwing a 50% boost on it and overcoming the vig, and you're fine. Like, you don't have to overthink it so much so that it takes the fun out of it. Like, there can be an angle where we have fun and we bet smart. That's what Green Beans Go is all about. So understand that I'm trying to educate you and inform you, but I'm not trying to, like I said at the beginning, be a troll under the bridge and ruin betting for you as individuals. You need to do what you want to do. But my advice is only play these home run same game parlays if you have a 50% boost, or you have an edge. And again, you have to figure that out. So I will give you a fresh example, a current example. If I think, and I did think, there were going to be a significant amount of home runs in the Tampa Bay game because the Rays are playing at a smaller stadium, a new stadium, and the pitching wasn't good the other day, and the park factors were great. Like, everything was looking good. And I like Brandon Lau and Cameron Meisner or Misner, if you want to say his name correctly. As many of you know, if you watch my home run videos, they're two of my favorite guys to play at that park for a lot of the games. And when I looked at their parlay, because I was looking at what their parlay would be, because I thought this is a tremendous spot for both of these guys. Now, Misner actually ended up hitting a home run. He hit 2 that game. Lau didn't hit any, so we didn't win. But the fair value, the uncorrelated value, if the book is not charging anything, it was 47-1. The actual odds of those two parlayed together was 44-1. So on a $10 bet, I'm losing out on $30. I'm losing out on a very, very, very small portion of money. And I felt like the edge I had in park, pitcher, price of those guys overcame that. And I plugged it in. I said, okay, this is 44-1. What's the fair value? 47. Oh, okay. Now, if it was 44-1 and the fair value was 65-1, I'm probably not touching it. Right? The edge I had did not overcome that amount of hold. But on a 47 to a 44, marginal, slim. And so the edge I felt like I had. And again, if I was doing this correctly, I would calculate that edge and I would say, okay, this is the percentage of them actually both hitting a home run. And this is, but just you can feel this kind of stuff out. You don't have to fall into these math traps that you see online of these brainiacs. And that's good practice. Like, please do not misunderstand me. That's the best way to do it. But I think if you've been in the game long enough, you know that them only charging, like I could calculate the VIG right now. I'm not going to, but 44 versus 47 is not, it's not a big hold at all. So the edge I had, I felt like was overcomable to the VIG. That's all I got. Use this information how you will. This is not me trying to tell you how to bet. It's trying to help you be informed when you do ultimately bet. So take care. Love you guys. And we will see you tomorrow for some home runs.